10,000 years ago, a child did not wait for school to begin learning. Life itself was the classroom, and survival was the lesson. Ancient children learned by watching, copying, and helping. They were not separated from adult life. They were slowly pulled into it. A 5-year-old might carry firewood. A 6-year-old might watch a baby. An older child might follow hunters and learn where animals left tracks. To modern eyes, this may look like work, but for ancient children, work and play were not separate worlds. They learned by doing real things. A child pretending to hunt was also practicing hunting. A child carrying wood was also helping the group stay warm. Play had a purpose. No one handed these children a textbook. Knowledge was carried in hands, voices, gestures, and daily habits repeated thousands of times. For a long time, scientists barely noticed ancient children at all. Their bones were small, their tools were simple, and their traces were easy to miss. But when researchers began looking more carefully, childhood suddenly appeared everywhere, in footprints, tools, burials, and marks left on ancient bones. For decades, archaeologists focused almost entirely on adults. Children's tools were nearly invisible because their bones were smaller, more fragile, and much less likely to survive for thousands of years. Even when children's tools were discovered, researchers often assumed they belonged to adults. Small stone knives and tiny spear points were simply recorded as ordinary tools. Everything began to change when scientists began asking a different question. Instead of searching only for adults, they began looking for the smallest traces left behind by children. One surprising discovery came from a museum collection that had remained untouched for more than 100 years. The answer had been waiting quietly inside a storage drawer all that time. In 2016, Sylvia Bello carefully re-examined prehistoric bones discovered in Somerset, England. Most experts believed they had already revealed everything they could. But one small detail changed the entire story. Fine cut marks covered the bones of a child who had died around 14,000 years ago. At first, the discovery shocked researchers, but the same marks also appeared on adult bones from the very same cave. This was not violence, it was part of a burial ritual shared by everyone. That single discovery suggested something remarkable. Ancient children were not treated as lesser members of the group. They were already considered part of the community. Years later, anthropologist David Lancy compared decades of research from hunter-gatherer societies around the world. His conclusion challenged almost everything modern society believes about childhood. Ancient children did not prepare for adult life someday in the future. They became part of real life almost from the moment they were physically able to help. A child did not pretend to hunt. The child joined the hunt, watched carefully, and slowly learned every movement by experience. A young girl did not play at caring for babies. She carried younger children, helped prepare food, and learned by doing exactly what the adults were doing. Researchers noticed something surprising. Nobody forced these children to participate. They wanted to join. They watched, copied, and volunteered long before anyone asked them to help. Anthropologists call this intentional participation. The desire to join meaningful work appears naturally in children across almost every traditional society ever studied. Then another extraordinary discovery appeared in the desert of New Mexico. Thousands of ancient footprints had remained hidden beneath dried mud for more than 10,000 years. At first, the footprints looked ordinary, but as researchers mapped every track, they realized that most of them had been left by children. Some footprints showed children running as fast as they could. Others circled around in playful loops before suddenly stopping. Even after 10,000 years, their movements still felt familiar. One trail ended abruptly. Moments later, an adult's footprints appeared beside the child's, and from that point they continued walking together. Another child wandered toward the water alone. An adult intercepted the little explorer, gently turned the child around, and together they walked back toward the camp. Every parent today recognizes moments like these, yet these tiny footprints were made more than 10,000 years ago by children whose names we will never know. But other footprints revealed something even more surprising. Small footprints led directly toward the body of a mammoth, where they mixed with the tracks of many adults. Children as young as 5 or 6 were present while adults processed enormous animals. They were not standing far away. They were part of what the community was doing. Nobody had created a special world just for children. There was only one world, shared by everyone, where learning happened naturally through everyday life. Archaeology, anthropology, and ancient footprints all point toward the same conclusion. Ancient childhood in the distant past was very different from what most of us imagine today. In 1943, psychologist Abraham Maslow proposed that people naturally seek purpose and meaningful contribution. Ancient childhood suggests that this journey may have begun much earlier than we once believed. Ancient children did not spend years preparing for life before they were allowed to participate. They became useful members of the community almost from the beginning. Learning and doing were never separated. Every task taught a new skill, and every new skill immediately became part of everyday life. Modern research has found that children naturally want to imitate adults and take part in meaningful activities. This desire appears across cultures and throughout human history. In 2015, psychologist Peter Gray suggested that children develop confidence when they are trusted with real responsibility instead of only preparing for the future. Ancient childhood was not easier or safer than today, but the evidence suggests that children were active participants in daily life, not simply waiting to become adults. 10,000 years ago, a child ran across wet mud beside an ancient lake. Those footprints remained hidden until our own time, carrying a story that survived longer than any written book. Ancient children did not grow up in classrooms. They grew up inside life itself. Their footprints, tools, and stories remind us that childhood has always been one of humanity's greatest teachers.